Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I may have to step out here for a few minutes. It's somewhere at the beginning. I think we have somebody here. We're working on something, so I'll be back. I'm gone. I'll be back. Okay.
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 Hey, Elaine. All right. All right. Well, it's 7 o'clock. I hear myself. Somebody. Oh, Alan, can you turn your set yours to mute because I'm getting some feedback from you.
Okay. Oh.
There we go. All right, it's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. And I would like to welcome our new representative from the Conservation Commission, Beth Wilson.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to having the advantage of your expertise on the CPC and your commitment to the town as well.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've only been sort of on the other side of CPCs and submitting applications and presenting. So this is going to be fun, I think. I hope.
Lots of fun. It's lots of fun.
Lots of fun.
It goes perfectly smoothly.
Good.
So thank you for joining us. And we should also pretty soon have another new member joining us representing the planning board. We'll talk some more about that a little later in the agenda. Our first order of business is to review and vote on the minutes from June 15th. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve them.
A second? Is there a second? Oh.
Second.
All right. Discussion on the minutes? I had a few small corrections, Elaine.
Okay.
In item 5, when we talked about the open meeting law response, where it says that it allows 30 days, I said that it allowed 30 days. I said that it allows 30 days or 3 meetings, whichever is later, which is important because it was the 3 meetings distinction that I was talking about there.
Okay.
And it's not for amendment, but for posting the minutes is what that time frame in open meeting law is about.
Okay.
And then my only other amendment was in item 6 when we were talking about the Lake Wyola watershed plan. I was simply bringing it to the committee's attention. I didn't say that it could be a future problem. So I want to make sure that is that's correct in there. I don't know if it's going to be a problem or not, but I just brought it up as a point of information.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion about the minutes? All right. Well, seeing none, we should vote on the minutes as I've proposed their amendment. Hanson. Sorry, you're muted, Alan.
Hi. I'm still muted.
No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know what's
Getty.
happening here.
Aye.
Palaio,
Aye.
Pangallo, aye. Wilson,
Stain.
all right. Moving on to the next order of business, item of business is the update on the current CPA projects I emailed the projects that I knew of that are still ongoing and just asked for a brief update. And I sent those out to the committee as I received them. So I can just sort of briefly, verbally, for the purposes of our meeting, share these again. But the Cemetery Commission, at the time they responded to me, was waiting for the grant agreement to be executed with the select board. And Walter said as soon as that's done, they will get in touch with the gravestone restorations, and he thinks that it should be done before winter, if all goes according to schedule and plan. The update from the Conservation Commission on the West Quabbin Conservation Area parking area. They had scheduled it originally in July to figure out its placement, but it was delayed, or they had to reschedule due to weather, and they're hoping to have it completed in the spring, if not sooner. Is that correct, Beth? The
Yeah,
parking-
we need to schedule a site visit with Kestrel to talk with the surveyor there about location for the parking lot.
Okay. The Historical Commission, there was a preliminary assessment and estimate from Williamstown Art Conservation Center. This is for the Town Common Signboard. There's some discussion still ongoing, and Henry, maybe you can talk some more about this, but about what exactly we're willing to have done to it, particularly in terms of the top part of the structure. And there needs to be discussion with the select board about that, since the select board technically owns it. Is that correct, Henry? Is that where things stand?
Yeah, we're meeting as a committee on the 30th to discuss this very thing. So we should have a report after that.
I'm sorry, did you say on August 30th?
I believe so.
Yes. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, yeah, and yeah, it has to do with the roof section of the guide board. And this will inevitably be a consultation with among ourselves, but also with the select board, as you know, the entity that is actually oversees this relic. Yes. Okay.
And I would also say that the Historical Commission did get two possible conservation plans for that item. One of which was, I don't remember, Henry, if you remember the exact amount, but one of them was astronomically expensive.
Yeah.
It was really strangely expensive, and the other one was within pretty close to what the grant amount was, as I recall.
Yeah.
So the commission obviously was leaning towards the one that was affordable. Okay. The Ames Pond Trails Rehabilitation Project. So Kestrel sent that update that I forwarded out to you with a description of the parking area improvements that they completed, as well as the accessible trail and viewing platform that they installed along the through the meadow and at the pond edge. That work, they said, it was phase one of this larger project, was completed as of May 2023, so this past May. And the phase two portion, which has a number of other things they're going to be doing to the trails, including signage and repairing the boardwalk and such, is upcoming. I don't know if they're going to be applying to us for more funding for that or not, but I imagine they might. And they had some great photos in their report, which was nice to see. I've not been over there. Has anybody been over to the?
Yes. Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, it is very nice. It looks great.
I drive by it often enough now that we're all driving down Wonder Road.
I don't know what a road that is.
Yeah, 2 days ago, somebody with New York license plates towing a massive boat designed for the ocean came barreling down the road as I was going up it. It was just It was incredible. On the subject of the lake, we also got a update from Penny about the top of the lake conservation area. They're just, they finished up most of the work. It looks like they're just waiting on the installation of 2 signs from the highway department with the highway department. And there's this question that she had about a picnic table at the site. She said that she's obviously going to consult with the Conservation Commission since they are the managers of the property and the CPC. She's thinking of a low maintenance recycled plastic bench and would like the committee's feedback. I don't know if there is any feedback or thoughts from the committee. I was not on the committee when this grant was awarded, so I don't know what was in I probably should dig up the budget or the grant package, but I imagine this is an acceptable use of the money. I don't know that we necessarily have to approve how a grantee spends the money after they have the award.
No, if they have the money, I think they should be able to go forward with what they want to put there. It's a real improvement, and it's been a long time coming to get that put together.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, it's certainly fine with me. And I think that the idea of doing a recycled plastic bench as opposed to a wooden one, which is probably going to deteriorate and need to be replaced, probably it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. I like the idea of having a bench there. I think it'd be great.
Mhm.
Great. All right, the last item under the update on current CPA projects is about the exit surveys from last year's applicants. So as we decided, Beth, just to sort of bring you up to speed, last year, the committee decided it would like to try to get more information from people who apply about their experiences applying, and is the information clear? Was the process straightforward? And so we have an exit survey that we sent them, and we send them to everybody who submits a determination of eligibility or a grant application, even if they don't, even if they don't proceed to the grant application phase, even if they don't get the grant application, everybody gets it. The Cemetery Commission was the only response that we received from this previous year's response applicants. I forwarded everybody the exit survey response that Walter completed. Is pretty straightforward. It seems like they found the process. The information was easy to find. They found the process pretty clear. I think the one thing that stood out to me in the survey was he said that the application form itself seemed a little repetitive. So that may be something we want to bear in mind at our next meeting after the public hearing, at our next meeting when we talk about updating the community preservation plan and updating the application form. I'll certainly go through it and look for places where we might be able to remove redundancies. I know that we did revise it quite a bit last year already, so I would be eager to hear other members of the committee and their thoughts about the application, if there are things that stand out to them as being unclear or specifically repetitive. I don't know. Other thoughts about the exit survey, things that stood out for you?
I'm sorry that more of them didn't respond to that.
Yeah, it would be useful, especially obviously from people who didn't proceed to the application.
How many times did you send it out?
I sent it out just once after town meeting. I sent it to, there were 4 of them. We had the project regarding the bulletin board at Lake Wyola that we determined was not eligible. And then we had, why did we have 4? We had the schools for the track and field. We had the Cemetery Commission. Oh, there was a 4th. No, I can't recall what it is off the top of my head.
So maybe you should resend it to other three? I know
I'm,
this, the schools are probably, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
It is way back burner for them right now.
I'd be happy to send that out again. I don't know, the further we get away from, this whole process with them happened for all these applicants happened in the last winter. So I don't know how much of it they'll recall. I can certainly send it again, though. I'll go back and see who that, I can't remember who that fourth one was now.
Yeah, I would resend it just to say, hey, remember, we still want this.
Do you think that we might get a better response rate if we mention in advance that this is part of the process, that it's an optional part of the process? It's not going to affect whether or not they get the, obviously their eligibility or their application approved. But if they at least see it and know that it's coming, and so they can think about it, does that seem like it might be pressuring them?
I don't know that they'll see it, actually. They'll notice it. I think sending it out when they get to the point of either rejection of their application or right after town meeting. I mean, that's the wrap up for each of them. So I think that's, the real time to send it. And then maybe 2 weeks after would have been good to say, by the way, did you notice that we still want this information?
Yeah, that is a good point. I should have sent for the projects that didn't proceed, I should have sent it as soon as they reached the end point.
Well, we didn't have it. We didn't have it by then.
Well, but for the bulletin board one, for example, as soon as that one was done. Okay. And I suppose we could include a mention that there is an exit survey in the application instructions. Just so you are aware, after your endpoint in the cycle, you'll be receiving this. Not actually send them the document. Okay. Any other thoughts about a exit survey?
Well, just occurred to me that with all the email clutter we have, it's possible that, snail mail might be better. I don't know, hard copy, I don't know. Just a thought. People are not opening emails.
That's not a bad idea. That's a good idea because it's a good idea for that reason, because it might not avoid disappearing into people's emails, but also there aren't that many of them, right? I mean, there's 3 or 4, so it is easy enough to put that together on a piece of paper and just drop it into the mail through town hall. So I think I'll definitely add that into the docket for this time.
You can remind them to fill it out. That would be the thing. Yeah.
And give them the option that it's online if they want to fill it out online, or they could just answer the hard copy and put it in the mail, and maybe even do a crazy thing of sending them a self-addressed stamped envelope with it.
All right. Great. Any other discussion on the exit surveys? Fantastic. Moving on to item 3, September 21st, which, as we discussed at the end of last fiscal year, we put up on our calendar as the public hearing. And so again, this is because last year, as we were preparing for the public hearing in the spring, Stuart Saginaw, who's the director of the Community Preservation Coalition, pointed out to us that we are kind of doing the process incorrectly with the hearings, in that the CPA law section 5B1 states that we are supposed to hold the public hearing as part of this, the study of the needs, possibilities, and resources of the city or town regarding community preservation. In other words, at the start, as Stuart said, at the start of the process, as opposed to at the end. And that doesn't mean that we can't hold a public hearing at the end when we have applications, if we decide that we would like to get public input on those applications. But it means that at the very least, we're supposed to be having a public hearing at the beginning as we prepare to revise or update the community preservation plan. So we can get feedback from people in town about revising it, as well as obviously, so, you know, we'll revise it with our own thoughts as members of the committee. So that is why we decided on a September public hearing. I sent a draft to everybody of the hearing notice, just, you know, it's pretty boilerplate. Are there thoughts or comments on this hearing? I'm doing this, or on the notice?
Thought it looked good.
Well,
Mhm. Were there a lot of changes to the plan last year from the public hearing, and, or is it sort of something that gets just a little edited every year, but it basically stays the same? I have to read it.
We didn't do a public hearing like this last year, though we're supposed to. The revisions that were made, the updates that were made were pretty minor. It was adding information from the previous year. I went through and did some fixes in terms of you know, syntax and grammar, making things a little tighter, updating dates and names and things like that. But otherwise, I don't know when, maybe the other members of the committee can speak to this better. I don't know when the last substantive revision of any of the goals or criteria actually happened.
It's been a long time. I've been on the committee. Well, Alan, you've been on longer than I have, but I've been on for at least 5 years, and I don't think we've made any substantive changes in that time. Alan, you're muted.
Sorry. I think in my recollection, it would be somewhere in the order of 8 to 10 years, but I'd have to look into my notes that we made any substantial changes. Nobody's
Means it
ever
must
brought
be
anybody up.
perfect.
And well, I think, yeah, I think if the most significant changes are a decade in the past, then it's definitely due for a significant over. And I doubt that we're going to find there are things that we want to remove in terms of goals and criteria, but there may be things that it's time for us to think critically about adding in as goals and criteria.
So would you say that we would do this before the public hearing or during the public hearing?
So this September 21st public hearing is just a chance for us to hear from people who have thoughts about things that should be in there or should be revised or removed. And then the schedule that we have set is that at our next meeting, after that is the meeting where we would, as a committee, talk about the revision you would want to see in it, as well as updating the application and the determination of eligibility form. So at the September 21st hearing, we wouldn't be voting to change anything or deliberating on revisions. That's something we would do after we've gathered those public comments.
Okay.
Just to keep them separated. Yeah, Henry.
I wonder if there's a very brief description that describes either the plan or the committee itself, but you know, in other words, it gives some idea of what this is about. Many people probably have no idea, and they could go to the website and find out, but this would be just an abbreviated, you know.
You're saying to put that into the notice?
Yeah, just a brief description of what is the committee and what is the plan, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe a
I
sentence.
also kind of worry that we're gonna hold this public hearing and nobody's gonna come.
You know, that
I mean,
that's,
how are we gonna get people interested in it?
this is something we've
Well-
talked about this so much about, how to get public interest, get applications, and awareness about. Alan, I'm gonna have to mute you again. 'Cause it's feedback.
Am I back again?
So yeah, I mean, Elaine, I think Henry's point is a good one. Like, we can do a better job in the notice itself of explaining what this is. I don't know how many people actually go through the newspaper and, look at the legal notices. I don't know how many people get the newspaper.
Right.
It really reaching as many people as possible. I sincerely doubt it. But
We can do a town announce.
yeah, I think a town announce email, and I think that, the important thing is that we have to do it, right? That's what Stuart's point was, that
What
I would-
about social media? I'm thinking of next door. I don't know.
I mean, I know I've mentioned this when I joined the committee. I have no problems with publicizing things on social media, particularly if, if it's an announcement about an upcoming meeting or an event, as opposed to an invitation for a debate or discussion. That obviously would then begin to creep into the realm of violating open meeting law. But, posting something on a, the Shutesbury parents Facebook group and the and next door, something like that, that is just in the form of an announcement,
Mhm.
and that I would be completely on board with. Because I think honestly, more people in town would see that than would see a legal notice buried
Most
in.
definitely.
Yep.
We have a member of the public with their hand raised. Mary Lou,
Oh,
would you like to speak? Mary Lou, you're muted. I don't know if you're trying to say anything.
hello, Mary Lou. Goodbye, heart.
I'm
You're
sorry.
dating yourself, Henry.
Did you call on
Hey.
me, Mateo?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so you were talking about advertising and I heard Henry say to put it on next door Shutesbury, just the announcement, as well as to share it on eCricket and yeah, maybe even put out a mailing, like just like a postcard mailing. Because I think people should be interested in the town getting such a large sum of money. Do you know? I know that I was very interested when I was in the historic commission. And I applied actually to have us put in historic district signs at one time, so thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think pursuing as many avenues as possible just to let people know about it. And I think, Elaine, Elaine's point is a fair one, right? Even if we reach out and people are aware of it, I don't know how many people are going to say, ooh, public hearing about revising this obscure, municipal planning document. I don't know how many people are actually going to show up for that. But again, we have an obligation to do it anyway. There is that chance that we are going to get some really good feedback from people, and it's also potentially a way to publicize the CPA funding that's available and what the committee does.
I would say that the idea of, it's a good idea, Mary Lou, about doing postcards, but it's harder than you think to get those postcards out and everything. So I would suggest that we do as much online that we can, and then maybe make some notices that are available at the library and at the post office. Just saying what we're doing.
So
And-
you're revising, I'm sorry, you're revising your document?
Yeah.
You're not advertising your committee?
No, so this hearing,
Uh.
yeah, so this hearing is the statute states that each year the committee is supposed to, I forget the exact wording, but conduct a study into the needs and goals and priorities of the town in terms of
Ah,
preservation profile. And as part of that study, one of the things that's stipulated in 5B1 of the CPA is holding a public hearing to gather input to that end.
wow.
So that's exclusively what that, what that hearing would be about.
Okay.
We wouldn't be deliberating or debating about potential projects or brainstorming potential projects or things like that. People would be free, obviously, to talk about those things if they want to, but it's not what the committee would be discussing or voting on at that meeting.
I look forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great ideas here. So yeah, sending it out, putting it up on Nextdoor, sending it out on Town Announce. I like that idea of putting up flyers at the post office, the library, town hall, places where people might, might see it, and distributing it that way as well. All right. And I will revise the notice per Henry's suggestion to add a little more information about what exactly we are and what the plan is, just so people know why we're having this hearing. Any other thoughts about the hearing?
What you just said a minute ago about needs and priorities, that could be part of the messaging. I mean, it's just, it shouldn't be that difficult to.
Yeah. Just a couple of sentences, I think would
Yeah.
do it. Clarify it.
Mhm.
Great. Well, if there's no further discussion on that, the last item on our agenda is a discussion about the planning board representative on the CPC. So we had a planning board member last year who, for various reasons, was unable to attend many of the meetings. So we've been without a planning board member for a while, which is unfortunate because it's an important designee on the CPC. The current planning board solicited volunteers from among themselves as well as around town. And I also solicited volunteers from around town. And so far, one individual has offered to serve as the planning board's designee, Cliff Reed, who sent a statement. I've lived on Old Orchard Road in Shutesbury for 31 years. I've served on the Shutesbury School Council, the school committee, the school study committee, library trustees, and the library building committee. He worked for the Department of Conservation and Recreation at Quabbin Reservoir as supervisor for education and information for 32 years and would like to serve on the CPC. We don't have any formal appointing authority here. It's really up to the planning board to vote on his name and give it to the select board, who has the formal appointing authority. But the planning board indicated to us when we went to them and said, we need a planning board member, they indicated that they would like somebody who is acceptable to the CPC. So that's why this is on the agenda. If there are thoughts about this request for appointment, or if there are other individuals, I wanted to make sure that it was presented to the committee.
I wholeheartedly support Cliff Reed. He's a very knowledgeable person, both in town and on environmental and conservation aspects. Yeah, he would be extremely fair and an extremely welcome member, in my opinion.
I second Bill's comments.
I like him. I've met him a few times.
I
Don't know as
don't
much
know.
about him, but he seems great.
I don't know him, so I'll take your word for it.
Mm.
Okay, well, I will pass along the comments to the planning board, and they will hopefully at this month's meeting take some action on that appointment so that we can have a full committee finally. Great. Is there any other business for discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay. Puleo,
Aye.
Hanson,
Aye.
Geddes,
Aye.
Wilson,
Aye.
and Gallo, aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks.